Welcome to Football Unspoken, the home of unique football takes. So I've got a fairly interesting topic for you this week, but before we jump into that, I've got our trivia for the episode, and I want to go into our comeback kings. And can you tell me the team that made the most comebacks in a single season?
By comebacks, do you mean like they went to goal?
They went to goal down and then they made a comeback to either draw or win the game.
My immediate thoughts, I'm kind of cheating here because I'm going to say two teams, but my immediate thoughts are it's going to either be Liverpool or Man U.
You are unfortunately wrong. It's neither of those teams. It's actually Newcastle United back in 2001, 2002.
No.
They got 54 points from losing positions. Launching from that into the topic for this week. So we've heard about Klopp's mentality monsters and that. Is there an underappreciation of the mental side of the game in football players?
I think there is. It's kind of interesting though. Like there's some players who've come in and they clearly mentally strong, but if you're just not a good enough player, that doesn't help you very much. It's also worth mentioning that having those mental players is useful in a squad, but you don't necessarily need all 11 players on the pitch to be mental monsters. I think there's an example, Jose Mourinho from his time at Porto. He speaks about like the value of having a captain, a leader. He made reference to a match they were losing at halftime they shouldn't have been losing. And the captains asked Jose Mourinho to wait outside the changing room. He went in there, did all the shouting and yelling at the players for Mourinho, and then asked Mourinho to come in and purely coach the team. And I think, so that's an example, just one player in the squad. I know you also referring to on the field, but this is an example of like the mental aspect of the game, allowing the manager to just coach. So Mourinho doesn't have to show any mentality. All he had to do there was show tactics. So I think like that's an example where one player can manage it for the squad. So I think yes or no, your squads are hugely hindered if they don't have one of those players in the squad. But I think it's overrated if you're purely building a squad of just mentally based players and no technical or physical based players.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's got to be an understanding that the technique needs to be there at the end of the day. But the reason I kind of bring this up is because obviously recently there's been a lot of discourse around Erling Haaland because he's not a flashy player. If you're like technique wise, Erling Haaland is not a great player on the ball. That's the narrative. I don't particularly agree with it, but there's an idea that because of the way Haaland plays, player like Mbappe, player like Vinicius Jr. are better players because they look better. They actually aesthetically look better. But I sit there and I go, no, because a guy like Erling Haaland mentally understands the game better than these boys. I just think because the amount of tap-in goals that he gets is not simply down to the fact that De Bruyne can put a great ball in. It's also down to the anticipation, the positioning, the attacking work rate that he understands the game and how to play mentally before the technique comes in. And I think that's where I mean, that's where I mean on the field, there's an understanding, there's almost a, not misunderstanding, but underappreciation of the mental side of the game. And you also see it in awards. The amount of defenders who win player of the season, Ballon d'Ors, where mentally, me and you have spoken about this, but mentally, I feel like defending is a much more mental task than anywhere else on the field because your positioning has to be right, your anticipation has to be right. Yeah, you have to have the technique to tackle, you have to have the physicality, but if you're mentally not good enough, you won't ever get close to the upper echelons.
Actually, I'm going to say this. You're probably going to laugh at me, and I'll explain. So I'll set you up here. David Luiz, for me, is an example of a player who had great mentality.
Because I do agree. I don't remember defensively. I don't remember him having to ever really like sprint or try and get back into position. I just think what he is, it's like Football Manager where you got the eccentricity and a goalkeeper. This bloke's got 30 out of 20 eccentricity. When we're talking about wingers and that kind of player, you got Jack Grealish is on the one side where I think technique-wise, one of the best, if not the best, at least for a time in the Premier League. He was ridiculously good on the ball. He gets fouled a lot. He's able to dribble. He's able to shoot. He's got a lot of good understanding of the technique, but I think mentally he doesn't have the vision or the awareness or the kind of understanding of the game that's going around him all the time. I do want to preface this in the fact that like he obviously can pick out a pass when he wants to. He can do that, but it's not his strength. Whereas you look at a guy like James Milner, and his entire career was built on the fact that he understood the game better than most other people. Technique wise, especially when he was younger, he was very, very good on the ball. And as you get older, you need to start supplementing your technique with an understanding of the game. And James Milner just had that innate vision, anticipation, understanding that allowed him to not only play on the wing, but also move into the centre mid and then move into defence, which not a lot of players can do because they don't have the understanding and the mental side of the game to be able to play those different positions. You can learn mentality throughout your career, but I think you do hit a ceiling with your physical side. So I do tend to agree with that. But yeah, guys, please leave us your thoughts. Do you agree with us, or do you think we're talking absolute rubbish? But it'd be great to hear from you, and check out any of our other podcasts. And yeah, that's all from us this week, and we'll see you next time.